You just saved this company $50 million. Those were the words CEO Ethan Carrington spoke to a shy girl in a cleaning uniform, standing trembling before 12 of Seattle's most powerful executives. But how did a woman who spent 4 years invisible become the most important person in the room? It started with a crumpled piece of paper. Anna Moore had always been the girl who cleaned offices before dawn, the one people looked through rather than at. At 27, she moved through Carrington Media's marble corridors like a whisper auburn hair, pulled back shoulders, hunched eyes downcast. For nearly 4 years, she had perfected the art of being invisible. But invisible people see everything. This particular Tuesday morning, as Anna pushed her cleaning cart down the 21st floor hallway, she had no idea she was about to discover something that would change not just her life, but the fate of an entire company. The silence was broken only by her cartwheels and the distant hum of anxiety that seemed to pulse through the building's walls. Something was wrong. After 4 years of quiet observation, Anna could feel it in the way executives hurried past without their usual confident strides, in the way office doors remained closed longer than normal, in the way even the coffee in the break rooms sat cold and untouched. But it was what she found hidden under the conference table that would transform a girl into the most unlikely hero in corporate Seattle. The executive conference room on the 21st floor was Anna's favorite to clean. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Elliott Bay, and the mahogany table gleamed like a mirror under the morning light. She moved methodically, dusting each chair, polishing the surface until it reflected the sky outside. It was while cleaning beneath the table that her fingers brushed against something unexpected, a crumpled piece of paper wedged deep under the heavy furniture where the overnight cleaning crew had missed it. Anna's first instinct was to simply discard it. After all, important people dropped important things all the time, and it wasn't her place to read their business. But as she smoothed out the wrinkled sheet, certain words seemed to leap from the page. Urgent, media backlash, cancel risk, Korean partnership at stake. Anna's heart began to race. She didn't understand the context, but years of quiet observation had taught her to recognize distress signals. This wasn't just another discarded memo. This looked like someone's personal notes from yesterday's crisis meeting, the kind of scribbled reminders executives make when they're panicking. For a moment, she stood frozen in the empty conference room, the paper trembling in her hands. Anna had spent her entire adult life being told she didn't belong in spaces like this. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. Don't reach above your station, Anna. Shy girls like us, we keep our heads down and do our work. But something deep within her, call it intuition, call it courage, call it the voice of every person who had ever been overlooked, whispered something different. This mattered. Someone somewhere in this building needed this information desperately. Anna carefully folded the paper and slipped it into her uniform pocket. For the first time in 4 years, she was about to step out of the shadows. 20 minutes later, raised voices echoed from the same conference room she had just cleaned. Through the frosted glass doors, Anna could see the silhouettes of what appeared to be the entire executive team. CEO Ethan Carrington's voice carried through the walls, sharp with frustration. How does a 40-hour crisis management plan just disappear? Anna's hand moved instinctively to her pocket, where the crumpled paper rested like a secret. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she approached the conference room door. She had never knocked on this door. She had never had a reason to, but she knocked anyway. Anna was about to discover that sometimes the scariest decisions lead to the most beautiful outcomes. The conference room fell silent as Anna's soft knock echoed through the tension-thick air. Through the glass, she could see 12 pairs of eyes turning toward the door, eyes that had never really seen her before. Ethan Carrington's voice cut through the silence. Come in. Anna's hands shook as she turned the handle. She had imagined this moment might come someday, but in her imagination she had always felt braver. The reality was far more intimidating. 12 of the most powerful people in Seattle media were staring at her with expressions ranging from confusion to irritation. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Anna began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I found this under the conference table during cleaning, and I thought it might be important." She extended the wrinkled paper toward the table, her arm trembling slightly. The silence stretched like a taut wire until Pamela DeWitt, the communications director, spoke with icy precision. "Excuse me, but what exactly are you doing here? This is a closed executive meeting." Pamela's voice carried the particular disdain reserved for those she considered beneath her notice. "Some girl from cleaning has absolutely no business interrupting." But Ethan Carrington was already reaching for the paper, his fingers unfolding it with growing urgency. Anna watched his face transform as he read the sharp lines of stress softening into something like relief, then hardening into something like anger. "These are Johnson's notes from yesterday's emergency session," he said quietly, his voice cutting through Pamela's continued protestations. "The handwritten backup of our crisis strategy. We've been reconstructing this from memory all morning because the digital files were corrupted in the server crash." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices. How did she find it? Where exactly was it? Why didn't the cleaning crew? But Ethan raised his hand for silence, his gray eyes fixed on Anna with an intensity that made her want to disappear entirely. "What's your name?" he asked. "Anna Moore, sir. I work in facilities maintenance." "How long have you worked here, Anna?" "Almost 4 years, sir." Ethan nodded slowly, something like respect flickering in his expression. "And in 4 years, you've never spoken to anyone in this room?" Anna's cheeks flushed crimson. "No, sir, I try not to get in anyone's way." The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The person they had collectively ignored for 4 years had just saved their most important business deal. An hour later, Anna found herself in the most surreal situation of her life, sitting in CEO Ethan Carrington's private office, still wearing her cleaning uniform, while he poured her coffee from a machine that probably cost more than she made in a month. The office was everything Anna had imagined it would be: floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sound awards, lining the walls, a desk that looked like it belonged in a museum. But what struck her most was how lonely it felt. Despite all the markers of success, there was something hollow about the space, as if it had been designed to impress rather than to live in. "I need to understand something," Ethan said, settling into the chair across from her. Up close, Anna could see that his reputation for cold calculation was softened by something else: genuine curiosity and perhaps exhaustion. Fine lines around his eyes spoke of sleepless nights, and his usually perfect appearance showed small signs of strain. "You said you knew this document was important, even though you couldn't understand all of it." "How?" Anna stared into her coffee cup, watching the steam rise like tiny prayers. The porcelain was so delicate she was afraid to grip it too tightly. How could she explain 4 years of observation? How could she tell him that when you're invisible, you develop a different kind of sight? "When you clean offices," she began softly, "you see things, not private things." She added quickly, her cheeks flushing, "I would never read personal documents or listen to private conversations, but patterns. I can tell when someone's having a good day by how they organize their desk. I can tell when there's stress in a department by how many coffee cups are left behind, how tightly wound the tension feels in a room even hours after a meeting has ended." She paused, looking up at Ethan's face. He was listening intently, without the impatience she had expected. Yesterday morning when I arrived, the energy in the building felt desperate. People were working later, speaking in hushed voices that stopped when others walked by, and that paper. She touched her pocket unconsciously. It felt like it carried the weight of everyone's worry. The handwriting was rushed, urgent. Someone had pressed so hard with their pen that it almost tore through the paper. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her with new eyes. "You've been watching us for 4 years." "Not watching," Anna corrected gently, then worried she had sounded presumptuous. "Just noticing. It's different when you're part of the background. You see things that people in the foreground miss, like how you reorganize your desk when you're thinking through a difficult problem, always moving the same silver pen to different positions. Or how Ms. Patterson in accounting hums when she's happy but goes completely silent when she's worried." "Haltote, and what have you noticed about me?" The question caught Anna off guard. She looked up to find Ethan's gray eyes fixed on her with genuine interest. Not the polite attention one gives to an inconvenience, but the focused regard reserved for equals. It was a look no one had ever given her in this building, and it made her feel simultaneously visible and terrified. Anna set down her coffee cup, carefully buying herself a moment to think. She had noticed so much about him over the years, perhaps too much. But something in his expression told her he genuinely wanted to know. "You care more than you let people see," she said quietly. "Everyone thinks you're just focused on profits, but you remember people's birthdays, not just the executives, but the security guards, the receptionist, even some of the cleaning staff, whose names you've never actually learned. You ask your assistant about her daughter's soccer games, and you remember the scores from week to week. You stay late not because you have to, but because you worry about whether your decisions will hurt people. I've seen you rewrite emails dozens of times trying to find the gentlest way to deliver difficult news." She paused, then added more softly, "And you eat lunch alone at your desk almost every day, even though people invite you out. I think you're lonelier than anyone realizes." Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming silently on the arm of his chair. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight Anna hadn't heard before. "You see a lot for a shy girl who keeps her head down." "Sometimes," Anna replied, "keeping your head down is the only way to really see. When people don't notice you're there, they don't perform for you. They just are. And you learn that the most important things happening in a company aren't in the boardroom presentations. They're in the spaces between the conversations that happen in hallways, the way someone's shoulders slump when they think no one is watching, the tone of voice someone uses when they're trying not to cry." Ethan stood and walked to the window, his hands clasped behind his back. For several minutes he said nothing, just stared out at the city below. Anna wondered if she had said too much, revealed too much. But when he turned back to her, his expression had changed completely. "Anna," he said quietly, "I think we've been having the wrong conversation." By Thursday morning, word had spread through Carrington media like wildfire. The cleaning lady had saved the Korean partnership deal. The cleaning lady had been in the CEO's office. The cleaning lady had stepped out of her place. Anna felt the shift immediately. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Colleagues who had never noticed her existence now watched her every move with a mixture of curiosity and resentment. But it was Pamela DeWitt's reaction that cut deepest. "I want to see you in my office," Pamela commanded, as Anna was emptying wastebaskets on the 20th floor. "Now." Pamela's office was a shrine to her own importance awards, covering every wall photos of herself with celebrities and politicians, a desk positioned to ensure visitors understood exactly who held the power. Anna stood before this monument to ambition, still clutching her cleaning supplies. "I've been thinking about your little performance on Tuesday." Pamela began, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "And I have to wonder, how exactly did you come to be in possession of a confidential company document? Because I was in charge of that crisis meeting, and if there were security breaches on my watch." Anna realized this wasn't just about her. Pamela was protecting herself. "I found it during cleaning." "Or did you steal it?" Pamela's mask dropped, revealing the calculation beneath. "Because that's what this looks like to HR. A girl with building access taking confidential documents, then creating a dramatic scene to make herself look like a hero. Meanwhile, making my department look incompetent." Anna's world tilted. "I would never. Wouldn't you? 4 years of being nobody, watching more successful people live the life you want but can't have. It must create resentment. The kind that might drive someone to desperate measures for attention." The accusations hit Anna like physical blows. Everything she had done from a place of genuine concern was being twisted into something ugly, something criminal. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized the trap she had walked into by trying to help. "I'm recommending your immediate suspension pending a full investigation," Pamela continued. "You've violated protocol, invaded a confidential meeting, and potentially compromised sensitive information. Pack your things." Anna left Pamela's office in a daze, her cleaning cart wobbling as tears blurred her vision. 4 years of quiet service erased by one moment of courage. As she rode the elevator down to the utility closet to collect her personal items, she wondered if her mother had been right all along. People like them weren't meant to reach higher. In the stairwell between floors, Anna finally broke down, not the quiet, dignified crying of someone trying to maintain composure, but the raw, shoulder-shaking sobs of someone whose faith in goodness had been shattered. That's where Henry found her. Henry Martinez had worked security at Carrington Media for over 20 years. At 65, his hair was silver, his face mapped with lines of experience, and his eyes held the quiet wisdom of someone who had watched countless dramas play out in corporate corridors. He had noticed Anna from her very first day, the way she moved with purpose, the care she took with her work, the kindness she showed to everyone regardless of their position. "Rough day, mija?" Henry asked gently, settling beside Anna on the cold stairwell steps. Anna looked up through tear-swollen eyes. "They think I stole it, Henry. They think I'm some kind of criminal who was just trying to get attention." Henry nodded thoughtfully. "And what do you think?" "I think I was stupid to believe I could help. I think my mother was right. People like us should keep our heads down and do our jobs." "People like us," Henry repeated slowly. "You mean people who notice when something's wrong and do something about it? People who put doing right above doing safe?" Anna wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "People who get fired for trying to help." "Sometimes," Henry said, his voice carrying the weight of decades. "But sometimes, mija, shy girls like us end up saving the whole damn ship. The question is, are you going to let fear make you smaller? Or are you going to trust that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, is always worth it?" He stood up, joints creaking slightly, and extended his hand to help Anna to her feet. "You want to know what I've learned in 65 years? The people who try to tear you down for doing good, they're usually the ones who are afraid of their own small choices. Don't let their fear become your ceiling." Anna took his hand and stood feeling something shift inside her chest. "What if they fire me? Then you'll find another job. But what if they don't? What if your courage changes everything? You won't know unless you stop hiding." As Henry's footsteps echoed down the stairwell, Anna remained standing in the fluorescent light. Her reflection multiplied in the chrome handrails surrounding her. For the first time in days, she didn't see someone small and powerless. She saw someone who had done the right thing regardless of the cost. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. Friday morning brought an email that Anna read 3 times before believing it was real Anna. Please join the executive team meeting today at 10 a.m. Conference room 21A. Your perspective is needed. EC Anna stared at the message on her phone screen, her hands trembling slightly. After Pamela's accusations and the HR investigation that had kept her awake all night, she had expected to be escorted from the building by security. Instead, the CEO was inviting her to the most important meeting of the week. She wondered if this was some kind of trap, a formal way to humiliate her before terminating her employment. She arrived 15 minutes early wearing her best clothes, a simple navy dress she usually reserved for church and job interviews. The fabric was polyester rather than silk, and the cut was more practical than fashionable, but it was clean and pressed, and made her feel slightly more prepared for whatever was coming. Through the glass walls of the conference room, she could see the entire executive team already assembled. Their faces were serious-focused, and several were engaged in hushed conversations that stopped when they noticed her approaching. Pamela DeWitt sat at the far end of the table, her expression radiating cold fury and something that looked suspiciously like panic. Anna paused outside the door, her hand hovering over the handle. She could still walk away. She could go back to her cart, back to her invisibility, back to the safety of being nobody. But Henry's words echoed in her mind. Don't let their fear become your ceiling. Every face turned toward her as she entered, and Anna fought the urge to apologize for existing. The weight of their attention felt crushing, but there was something different in their expressions now, not the dismissive indifference she was used to, but genuine curiosity mixed with what might have been respect. Ethan stood as she entered, a gesture so unexpected that Anna nearly stumbled. Anna, thank you for coming. Please take a seat. The chair he indicated was directly across from Pamela, who regarded Anna with the cold fury of someone whose carefully laid plans had been disrupted. Anna sat down carefully, her hands folded in her lap, acutely aware that every person in this room made more in a month than she made in a year. Before we begin, Ethan said, his voice carrying easily through the silent room, I want to address the elephant in the room. There have been some concerns raised about Anna's actions earlier this week. Accusations of impropriety, questions about security protocols, suggestions that her motives were less than pure. Anna's heart sank. This was it, the formal humiliation before the firing. But Ethan's next words caught her completely off guard. I called this meeting because I've spent the past 3 days reviewing those accusations, and I've come to some conclusions. First, Anna's actions were not only appropriate but exemplary. She found what appeared to be a confidential document and brought it immediately to the attention of the relevant executives. She could have ignored it, thrown it away, or even attempted to use it for personal gain. Instead, she did exactly what any responsible employee should do. He turned to address the room directly, but his eyes kept returning to Anna. Second, I've spent those same 3 days reviewing our crisis management protocols, our internal communication systems, and our company culture. And I've realized something troubling. We have created an environment where the person with the most critical insight into our day-to-day operations was afraid to speak up for 4 years. Pamela shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her manicured fingers drumming silently on the table. Ethan, I hardly think we need to restructure company policy based on one isolated incident. One isolated incident, Ethan's voice carried a sharp edge that made several people around the table sit up straighter. Pamela, this one incident revealed fundamental flaws in how we operate. Anna, in your 4 years here, have you noticed other things that might help us serve our clients better? Problems that could have been solved sooner if someone had been listening. Anna felt 12 pairs of eyes focus on her with laser intensity. This was her moment. She could shrink back into invisibility, mumble something vague and safe, or she could trust Henry's words about courage. She thought of her mother's warnings of Pamela's cruelty, of all the times she had bitten her tongue when she saw problems that could be fixed. She took a breath and chose courage. "The Hendricks account," she said quietly. "They're unhappy with our response times. I see their voicemails pile up every Wednesday morning, the day after their account executive blocks out client golf on his calendar. Morrison Industries. Mrs. Henderson always leaves tissues on her desk after creative meetings, and I find draft emails in her trash that start with 'I don't understand,' but are never sent. And the Korean partnership." Anna paused, gathering courage. "I clean the conference rooms after their video calls. I see how our executives are always still setting up equipment when the Koreans are already waiting online looking at their watches." The silence in the room was profound. These weren't insights you could get from reports or metrics. This was knowledge that came from being present, watching, caring about the human details that made business personal. Ethan nodded slowly. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Anna, I have a proposition for you. I'm creating a new position." Ethan continued, his gaze steady on Anna's face. "Client Experience Coordinator reporting directly to me. Your job would be to observe our operations from a different perspective, to notice the human elements that make our business relationships work or fail. We'll start you in our customer relations department with training and mentoring, and if you prove what I think you will, there's room for advancement." Anna's world tilted. I don't have any business training for that kind of position." "You have 4 years of qualifications. You have eyes that see what matters and the courage to act on what you observe. In my experience, those are the only qualifications that truly matter." Pamela's composure finally cracked. "This is highly irregular. You can't move some girl from janitorial services into customer relations without proper procedures, without interviewing other candidates." "It wasn't luck." Ethan interrupted, his voice quiet but firm. "It was competence. It was caring. It was the kind of insight we pay consultants thousands of dollars to provide, and Anna has been offering it for free for 4 years. We were just too arrogant to listen." He turned back to Anna. "The position comes with a substantial salary increase, your own office, and direct access to me whenever you see something that needs attention. The question is, are you interested?" Anna looked around the table at faces that ranged from supportive to skeptical, to openly hostile. 6 months ago, even 6 days ago, she would have declined. She would have apologized for taking up their time and returned to her cart, her supplies, her safe invisibility. But Henry's words echoed in her mind. "Don't let their fear become your ceiling." "Yes," she said, her voice stronger than she had ever heard it. "I'm interested." The meeting ended with a buzz of conversation handshakes, and the surreal experience of colleagues who had never acknowledged her existence now treating her as a peer. But it was the moment after everyone else had left that Anna treasured most. "Anna," Ethan said as she gathered her things, "can I ask you something?" She nodded. "What made you knock on that door, huh? Really?" Anna considered the question carefully. I think there's a difference between being invisible and being overlooked. I was never really invisible. I was just waiting for someone to see that I was there. When I found that paper, I realized that maybe it wasn't about waiting to be seen. Maybe it was about believing I was worth seeing. Ethan smiled, the first genuine smile Anna had ever seen from him. You were always worth seeing, Anna. The fault was ours for not looking. Anna's story reminds us that transformation doesn't always come from changing who we are. Sometimes it comes from finally having the courage to show who we've always been. But the most beautiful part of her journey was still to come. 1 year later, Anna stood in the lobby of Carrington Media, no longer invisible. The transformation was evident not just in her confident posture or professional attire, but in the way people approached her, seeking her insights, valuing her opinions, treating her as the essential team member she had always been. The company had changed too. Response times had improved client satisfaction, scores had reached all-time highs, and the Korean partnership had expanded into a multi-million-dollar relationship built on mutual respect and cultural understanding. Anna had been promoted twice, first to Senior Client Experience Coordinator, then to Manager of Customer Relations. Her innovative Voice of the Invisible program now included input from maintenance staff, security personnel, and receptionists across all company operations. But perhaps the most significant change was displayed in the lobby where Anna now stood. Behind the reception desk, in a place of honor, traditionally reserved for corporate achievements and executive portraits, hung a simple photograph Anna in her cleaning uniform, taken the day she found the crumpled paper that changed everything. Below the photograph, engraved on a brass plaque, were words that had become the company's new motto: "Sometimes the most important voice is the one you haven't heard yet." Anna smiled as she read those words. She thought of her mother, who had called 3 months ago, crying with pride over a newspaper article about her daughter's promotion. She thought of Henry, who now served as her unofficial advisor and whose wisdom had literally saved her life. She thought of all the Anna Moores still working in buildings across the city, quiet, observant, valuable people waiting for someone to see their worth. All the shy girls with brilliant minds hidden behind downcast eyes and humble uniforms. Today, Anna was launching her latest initiative, a comprehensive feedback system, ensuring that every employee, regardless of position, had a direct channel to share observations. It had taken months of planning, training, and proving herself at every level, but the shy girl who once cleaned these floors was now helping reshape how the entire company operated. As she walked toward the elevator that would take her to her office on the 21st floor, the same floor she used to clean Anna reflected on the journey that had brought her here. It hadn't started with ambition or credentials or even confidence. It had started with something much simpler and much more powerful: the decision to do what felt right, even when it felt scary. The elevator doors closed, and Anna caught her reflection in the polished steel. She saw a woman who had learned that visibility wasn't something you waited for, it was something you chose. And in choosing to be seen, she had helped create a world where others could make the same choice. Sometimes changing your life is as simple as picking up a piece of crumpled paper and deciding it matters. Sometimes saving a company starts with saving yourself. And sometimes the most ordinary moments become the doorway to an extraordinary life. The elevator climbed toward the 21st floor, carrying Anna toward a future she had never dared to imagine but had always deserved.